Welcome, everybody. Thanks for jumping on this week's Leadership 25 Zoom. We're so excited that you're here. And feel free to also text anybody in your team a reminder that the Zoom is going on. Workwithchampions.com, password WAVE, lowercase letters, and they should be able to jump in. We believe today's going to be a great day. I'm probably only going to, well, I am going to only be here till 1:30. Well, I'm in Mountain Time in Costa Rica right now. So I'm going to be on here for 30 minutes and I'm going to drop off when it's discussion time because I'm with a group of pastors and we've got to get to, we're traveling to meetings today. We've got a big 1,500 person meeting tonight, but there's a lot we're doing today in the meantime. So we're in transit. So I'm at a truck stop in Costa Rica. But here we go. We're excited that you're here and we're going to get rolling. This week is the law of process, chapter 3 of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. And every week is exciting. And yeah, it's 21 weeks, and that seems like a long time. But at the same time, we're discussing the topic of leadership. So if you're like me, you'll read the book in a day, or 2 days. So that's always good. So you're going to read the book, but we're going to explore topics in depth as it relates to the book in order to continue to grow as leaders. And sometimes that even takes us places that aren't, specifically, right in the book, but yet the subject is always going to be, the subject of the week. And this is chapter 3, the law of the process. And obviously we could talk about it for hours, just like anything else. But I'm just going to kick it off. Diane, go ahead. Diane, do you have anything that you want to say before kick
No,
off a couple comments?
no, I'm super excited about this law. I think, it's one of the most important ones. It's easy to say that every single time because that's why he wrote the book, because they're all very important. But this really brings in the reality of what we all have to capture. Like, this is the one that you have to capture. This is what is going to expand the law of the lid and the law of influence. It's all about who we become, that these other things start to fall into place for us. And so I love how they build on top of each other, but this is going to be a really amazing week. And I think it's going to be very eye-opening because it seems simple. Even the chapter was pretty simple, seemed very like, yeah, I get it. That's basic stuff. But there's no doubt that when you really put some time into, meditating on what this means, leaning into, the big, um, you know, vision of what he's really talking about, it's very, very exciting. It's very encouraging. It's very challenging. But yeah, I loved it. I've been really leaning into it for over a week now.
But here's what's really crazy, guys. This morning, I got a text early this morning from Kevin Wilson, who him and his wife Emily live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They're distributors. They're under Steve and Gina Merritt on the This Is It team, and I coach Kevin's little brother. That's how I know Kevin. I knew him way before LifeWave because I coached his little brother in high school, and so I've known Kevin for quite a while. And Kevin texted me this message. It was a podcast, and he said, "This guy is a friend of yours. You mentored him, and his name is Wes Bewley." And so I actually had time today after my prayer and workout. I'm in the room getting ready, and so I just click on the podcast and I'm going to listen to it. So I started listening to this podcast. It was, Wes is a young man that we started mentoring at 18 years old. He's been in network marketing now his whole career, for over 25 years. This is all he's ever done since any of his odd jobs that he did in high school and growing up. And what's remarkable, and Wes is in another company. He's a leader in another company, and blessings to him, blessings to his company. He didn't choose LifeWave because he didn't dig deep enough, and that is what it is. And God's in control of all that. But at the same time, he has a right to lead where he's at, and we're proud of him and glad and happy for him. But here's the thing, and he's dear to me. I officiated him and his wife's wedding, and kind of always been a father figure type mentor to him in many ways. But anyway, Wes was telling his story today answered on this podcast, and I was kind of blown away. I mean, it was really fantastic. And in the whole training was the law of the process. His whole from day one of his testimony all the way through was this chapter. It was the whole chapter, and I'm thinking, wow, this is remarkable. If it's just, and one of the things that got me, he said, when it came to his mentor, which was me, and Diane, but he was referring to the male side there because it was like a father figure type thing, and he just said the thing that he saw. He goes, I saw a lifestyle. He goes, I saw a lifestyle I want, and he goes, it was more so than the products. It was more so than this, that, and the other. He goes, I had my eyes on the fact that I wanted to be the guy that could be at his kid's practice one day. I wanted to be the guy that could do the things that I saw this man doing with his wife and with his children. And that's what I wanted. And nothing was going to stop me from that. And so I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that's what I got out of it. And then we go into the book, and here's, the part about Teddy Roosevelt. And it said, a quote from Teddy Roosevelt was, this is Theodore Roosevelt. I had a great admiration for men who were fearless and who could hold their own in the world. And I had a great desire to be like them. Mm-hmm. And that was Wes. Well, that's just kind of natural in this business. And it could be a female the same way. And that was me and Diane. We saw a founder of our first company who, because of where we were in life, we were kind of wild and crazy. We were party animals. We were just wanted to get rich, and we wanted to fast track, and we wanted to make a lot of money right now. And those kind of things were happening, and we were partying, and we weren't concerned about personal growth or the law of the process or John Maxwell or anything else. But we were exposed to this man who was leading the company, who was on a mission to build leaders. And because he knew he could die any day because he had a congenital heart disease that he wouldn't tell anybody about. So he led every day like it was his last. He lived every day like, I may die tomorrow. So whatever I do, I'm putting it in these people. And so what Diane and I captured from that was just like what Teddy Roosevelt's talking about, strength. We saw this uncompromising man, this guy that was on a mission to change lives, a mission to build leaders, a mission to build a company as strong as anyone had ever seen. And he was very adamant about that. And we just saw this uncompromising spirit, and he was very authentic, and everything he was, we weren't, but we wanted to emulate that. And so that put us in the process tank, guys. And you know what? That process still hasn't ended. We're still in that process. So that's what we want to talk about today. It's not a microwave. It's a crock pot.
Yeah, I think that's so good, because it's the reminder that leadership isn't the pursuit of power, right? It's the pursuit of purpose, right? And in order for you to have that pursuit of purpose, then you have to have that understanding of your own personal vision. And purpose reveals the process. So like once we know our purpose, once we have the reality of what vision is, then we start to unfold, what does that process look like for us to accomplish those things that we want, like being at our child's games, or being, doing the things we want to with our wife, like he's referring to when it comes to this, young man that he mentored so many years ago. He started to capture this vision that started to stir this purpose of him on what he wanted. And then he started to pay attention to the things that he needed to. So leadership is about becoming. Like that's another great word, I think, for process. It's becoming. It's who you are becoming. That version of yourself that can carry out your God-given assignment. And so when you capture some of these basic things, the process starts to take place.
It's all about becoming. It's about who you become and the pursuit of the things that you are desiring. And it's about who you're becoming in the pursuit of what God has for you in your destiny. Because that's one of the biggest issues is, are we binding ourselves to the plans and purposes of God? Now, this is a king. He's the creator of the universe. He's the king of the universe. And He's the ultimate. Jesus was the greatest leader that ever walked the face of the earth. So if that's who we're emulating, then we have to understand that there's plans and purposes that have been assigned to us, okay, from heaven. Plans and purposes. We can argue that, but why argue it? I mean, why get so religious? We don't want to get religious. We don't want to get, this is not about Bible thumping. It's not about being religious. It's about understanding that we were created, we were fearfully and wonderfully made, and there is a design. You are a champion. You were born to win. You have a design because there were plans for you before you were even in your mother's womb for you to fulfill in your lifetime. And so if we bind ourselves to those plans, you know what that means? That means connect yourself to those plans. So you have to speak that. You have to speak that into existence. Like that's what Diane and I do. We usually say, God, we want your plans, not ours. And it's we want what's our destiny. That's all we want. We're here for your plans and purposes, and that's what we need you to reveal to us. Okay, and in doing so, that we're it's about who we're becoming, as we work each day to fulfill the plans and purposes that he has for us, because his plans are blessing. His plans are to take dominion. I mean, if you read the book of Genesis, I mean, when he created man in his own image, the next thing he starts talking about is you have all authority, to take dominion. And so dominion means you're going to fulfill plans because you truly are a winner. You were born to win and you're a champion. Therefore, we're all in the process of becoming the very champion that we've been destined to be, to becoming the very overcomer that we've been destined to be. But overcoming also means failing forward. And John Maxwell wrote a book about that, failing forward. Sometimes we let the people who have failed us, the businesses that have failed us, the opportunities that have failed us, the churches that have failed us, the leaders that have failed us, and certain things, just list it. We could all probably list 50 things that have failed us today. All of us, me and Diane too. We can write it down, but you know what? We can all fail forward. We can get beyond that by not letting any of those offenses, not letting anything. It's just like, you know what? That was testing. That was a testing ground, because life is about testing and blessing. It's not about failures. If you went through failures, those were just testing grounds. There was training camp for your destiny. This is the law. This is the process. Okay. But a lot of people go through testings, they go through trials, they go through tribulations, or they see failures and they never pass the test. And so you're right. You know what? It's like God sets you right back down on your desk and go, you got some studying to do because you failed the test. And you're going, but that wasn't my fault. Look what they did. Look what happened. And he's going, you're not seeing the whole picture here. There's a test for you. And the test is, can you get beyond your feelings here? Can you get beyond that failure? Can you get beyond what that person did to you? Can you get beyond what that church did to you? Can you get beyond what that leader did to you? Can you get beyond what that company did to you to fail you? See, because it's really about you. This is me and you. I'm God and you're not. And this is about who you're becoming in the pursuit of where I'm taking you. Therefore, pass the test. And it's really about testing and blessing. That's the process, the law of process. Pass the test, blessing comes. God?
No, that's so good. That's so good. It is the reminder of being able to pass the test. And it doesn't say anywhere that we won't have the test. And of course,
Exactly.
that's what sharpens us. So needless to say, it's not to be unexpected, it's to be expected. So we shouldn't be so irritated and frustrated when the tests come along, because it's about who we're becoming through the hard times in the process to really shape us and mold us into who God desires us to be, because that's the reality, is us becoming and being shaped and molded. And, we're not called into comfort, we're called into transformation. Transformation is another name for process, right? We're transforming into, who we're called to be. So therefore, if we're not called into comfort, why are we continuing to feel like when we're uncomfortable, it's wrong? Like that's not true. We've got to understand that part of the process is going to be uncomfortable. The majority of what we're doing is going to be uncomfortable. Y'all have heard me say it before, success is not convenient or comfortable. So therefore, don't expect it. Are we chasing it? Yes, we're chasing the comforts of life. We're chasing the freedoms of life. We want the comfort to be able to buy what we want when we want it, to go where we want when we want to be around who we want, and those other comforts that we're all seeking. But to pursue it is not going to be called into comfort. We're called into transformation so that we become, who we're supposed to be when we take it, right? Because this is all about who we're becoming so that when we get there, our character is ready to handle it, because that's all so important and part of the process about who we're becoming, because who we are isn't ready for what God has for us. That's why he has us moving through this process, becoming who we're supposed to be, and in transformation to the fullness of who he has for us, so that we can handle where he's taking us, and be able to lead properly all that he has for us.
Yeah, and that's why John Maxwell, talks about that leaders are learners in chapter 3 of the law process, because it is about what we're learning at all times. Don and I are continuing to learn. There's a pastor here on this trip with us that I just met for the first time, like that, because we come to Costa Rica about 3 times a year right now, as of right now, and we're always a team, and our team's out of Arizona through my, one of my best friends, Mike Gallons, Pastor Mike, who's sitting over here in another booth, and he's an incredible leader. I mean, I could have him on here training today. He's all about, his life is about leadership. But he brought this pastor from Scottsdale, Arizona with him, named Justin. And this guy has this leadership assessment process that he works with the government, high-level government officials, high-level military officials, high-level professional sports teams, and like everywhere. And yesterday, and he's been talking about this. It's not like we like Strength Finders leadership. We love that. There's the DISC profile, which is personality assessment, and different things like that. And that's part of the personal growth process. That's part of the process we all need to be in. Like Strength Finders has greatly impacted our life. And Diane could attest to that too, and many on here. But this assessment is about how you're hardwired. He goes, Danny, this is about, we can run this assessment test and tell any human being exactly how God hardwired them. And even if they don't believe in God, we don't use God, we'll talk about their hardwiring, and it'll lead toward them asking those questions and us being able to open that door. But if you're in a Christian sector, he goes, it's really about how God hardwired you. And after we've been together for 2 days, I asked him, okay, so just based on being around me, I've been driving a car for 2 days, and we've been getting to know each other. Tell me how I'm hardwired. And this guy, it was like he read my life of who I am and what I do and how I do it and how I think and how I strategize and how I work and every decision I make. It was like crazy. Like he nailed me. And wow. Well, here's the point. The point is, I'm going to take this assessment. It's $50. So when I get back home, I'm going to take the assessment and I'm going to read the book that goes with it and the material that goes with it to help me grow, because there's also a weak side. You can identify my weak side as well. And so that I can grow from the weak side of my leadership. And so this whole thing is about letting you know that, like, I get energized by this. I get energized by the process of finding out something that's going to help me grow as a leader. Okay, so let me run through a couple of things. Here's the leaders are learners. Okay, so you see that John Maxwell said, because the ability to lead is really a collection of skills, nearly all of which can be learned and improved. And then he goes talking about other things. Well, Don and I were talking about this in the last couple of days when we were on the phone. And I was going, honey, just think about this. It's not just leadership alone. Our life has been, and it continues to be, about what we feed ourselves to become better leaders in every area of our life. For example, are we devouring marriage books, or have we? I'll just say, have we? Have we, Diane, have we devoured marriage books?
Yes.
Diane, have we devoured parenting books?
Yes.
This all has to do with leadership. Have we devoured leadership books? Yes. Have we devoured success in selling books? Yes. And guys, this could be podcasts and any materials, cassette tapes, VHS tapes, CDs, DVDs, digital, YouTube, all of this. It all relates. So if I say book, no, it means everything.
Mhm.
Diane, have we devoured relationship development books?
Yes.
Diane, have we devoured leadership assessment processes? Yes,
Mhm.
many of them. I mean, just Strength Finders and DISC, that was only two things. Because first, have we devoured personality assessments? Yes. DISC is not the only one. Have we devoured conflict resolution books? Ooh, that's a big one. Want to be a great leader? Conflict resolution, how to confront things, how to resolve problems. What about, have we devoured boundaries? Books about boundaries. I know Terry Miller loves that because that guy is a really smart dude. And I can't even think of his name right now, and I got his books. Um, boundaries in relationships. And what about dream books? Diana, we've devoured dream books. Oh my goodness. I mean, I think one of the greatest writers I've ever seen in my life from all of history, because I read old books too. Like I love the 1700s. I love Andrew Murray. But but Mike Murdoch, there's a guy named Mike Murdoch. And we would always Diana and I have handed out well over 1,000 of those books, probably more in the area of 2,000 Mike Murdoch books. Okay, well, let me just tell you real quickly, because here's where you got to spit out the bones. Mike Murdoch, God bless him. I'm not trying to pass judgment on him, but Diane and I would tell every person we ever gave a book to, don't watch this guy on YouTube. Don't listen to his cassette tapes. Don't listen to him audibly. Don't watch him on YouTube, because you will probably never read his book, because he doesn't appeal that way. He comes off differently, and it's just different. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just different. It's no one you would be attracted to in any of you in any shape, form, or fashion. But if you never saw him, and if you never listened to him, and all you had was his books, you would eat them like filet mignons every day, because Dan and I have devoured his books. And he's got books on wisdom, books on dreaming, books on your assignment and fulfilling your destiny. Oh my goodness, the law of assignment is amazing. So anyway, the question is this: Are we a mobile library? What are you doing on the way to work? What are you doing when you're traveling? What are you doing? Do you have your mobile library going? So who are you listening to? What are you listening to? I mean, Diane and I are Miles Monroe people. Dr. Miles Monroe, I believe, is the greatest teacher I've ever seen in my life, and I don't think there's any comparison. Now, that doesn't mean I'm right, but we just believe if we want to grow, we're going to get on YouTube and we're going to type in Dr. Miles Monroe, and it doesn't matter what we click on, it's going to blow our mind. He's just a freak of nature teacher, one of the best there is on any subject regarding God and leadership and vision and fulfilling your assignments and things like that. So this is part of our process. And Diane and I are growing even right now, because she's calling me saying, I just watched this Miles Monroe thing. Here's what I learned. And, I'm watching something on Miles Monroe, and here's what I learned. And this is how we go through the process, so we can continue to grow and win and lead others, because this is how we bring people with us and help them raise their lid and help us achieve all they want to achieve in life.
It's so good, because we got to remember, this is the joy of, of growing with our team and people around us. And this what makes us attractive, because we're not the boring same people. We're becoming who we're called to be. And so we have conversations that are out of the box. It's not, what do you think about the weather? And, what'd you do last weekend, and who you hang, but it's like you have these revelations, and you can't help but want to discuss it with people that you love and enjoy and that you're hanging around. And this is more ways that you're starting to impact the people around you. So, as you're learning more, that stirring's going to naturally come out of you, because what's in you comes out of you. And if we're not putting new stuff in us, then the same stuff keeps coming out of us. And then that's where we become the same person every single day, right? We are the results of our daily habits. That's who we are right now. Exactly. Everything about who we are is the result of our daily habits. And if we don't have daily habits that are growing us to become more, then we're staying the exact same. And so we're just getting up, we're doing the same thing every single day, going through the same motion with nothing challenging us, nothing stretching us, and nothing leading us into a healthier direction. Well, that's not a healthy process. That's just the same old, same old. That's just going through life. Those, we may have habits, but are those habits leading us to becoming more of who we're called to be? Well, that's something that we have to stop to think about and start to realize, like, what are my daily habits, and what are keeping me from healthy habits? What are holding me back from putting me in a position that my process is that I am growing and that I'm not flatlined? And so if I'm wanting to grow, then I've got to make sure that in my daily habits that I'm adding things that would make sure that they are leading me in the direction of becoming. And so therefore, just, and in fact, when I was listening to Miles Monroe, he had a challenge, and he said, I challenge all of you, this week to, be intentional about, what your habits are, finding yourself on your regular routine where you find yourself, in your daily habits. And when you get stuck in them, and they're the ones that are stealing your time, keeping you from what would be growing you forward. Because we only have 24 hours in a day. We all have the same amount of time. Our time is being spent somewhere. All of us are going through each day with time that we're putting into it, and we're either wasting it or we're making the most of it. This is all part of our daily habits. So if our intentions is not to waste time, but make the most of time so that we become everything that we're called to be, then we've got to do some exchanging in what we're doing. And just like, Danny said, instead of us listening to music, we love music, but that's not something that we have much in comparison to, like, if we're working out, or if we're if we're driving, then we're going to listen to something that's growing us, not just entertaining us. So it just goes back to, your willingness to make some exchanges that are going to be healthy for who you desire to be, just like Danny was talking about with the different books, the different podcasts, so on and so forth. But all that takes time, right? Everything that he's talking about takes time out of the day that we have that is being spent somewhere. And so it's the exchange rate.
Is that Diane or me?
What's the problem? Are you stuck?
I must have been stuck.
Are you back?
I'm back.
Okay, cool. It's your turn.
Oh, okay. I thought it was you that locked up. It was
Oh,
me that locked up.
I don't know. They only know. They only
Okay.
know.
Well, we're about ready to transition into discussion now, and because I don't have a whole lot more than that, other than you guys are champions, and you're called to higher levels, every one of you, because you've all got an incredible destiny on your life. And our prayer is always for God's plan for your life, because we know when it comes to the subject of leadership, some people get thrust into these situations like where we are right now on our team, and they get thrust in these situations to grow as a leader, and then they go out and do something else entrepreneurially that changes their life forever, that has nothing to do with the current business we're in. And you know what? If that's what happens to you, we're happy for you. We're elated that happens, because God may give you a creative idea, an entrepreneurial idea that changes your life forever, and that becomes your source of income. That becomes the very thing that feeds you financially. But He had to get you here, to get you in this think tank, in this leadership tank, to get you into the process. But some of you, it's like, okay, I want this business to work, and we're here for you too. I mean, we're all here working toward the same thing, and we want you to achieve great things here. And we want you to build a volunteer army and lead a volunteer army that is going to fulfill you, and it's going to fulfill the lives of others. Well, just know you've just got to continue to embrace the process. Even when I was listening to Wes this morning on his podcast, he was 18 years old when he got started, and he was in the process. He was young, and he wasn't leading armies. We were leading his army. We were leading all his people, but he's just stuck with the process and stayed in it and grew over the years, and now he leads armies. But that's what was so funny about listening to him the whole time, is he kept talking about all the different growth stages and the things that he went through and the failures, the setbacks that he went through, and some of the embarrassing setbacks that he went through financially and with loans and repos and not being able to pay his rent, and the things that happened, the decisions he made that caused that, and how he bounced back and what he kept his eyes on and all of those things. So guys, part of this is the fight. You gotta be a fighter, not just a leader. You gotta fight for your future. You gotta fight for your destiny. You gotta fight through the process, because the process will always involve the testings and blessings of God. There will always be trials and tribulations that come at us in our lifetime, and it's how we persevere, because the perseverance is what builds character, and it's the
Yeah.
character that produces the hope that's in us to achieve what we want to achieve. And so if you can do that, you persevere and you keep persevering and you keep learning and you keep growing, and then it builds your character. And if your character increases, you start seeing more people are attracted to you, more people are going your direction, greater things are happening. And so the hope becomes even more clear. And this is where we all want to go. So guys, let's stick with this process. I'm going to have to jump off. So I, I just I'll just refrain from giving like closing remarks, because it's almost like, okay, we're done. Get off. Bye. See y'all later. And that's just going to be me today. But in transition, before I go, because I really wish I could stay, but these guys over here, we got to hit the road. They've been gracious to me. And I want to say this. We got 28 minutes to discuss things today as I log off of here. Guys, jump in here and add value. Jump in here. We want to hear your comments. We want to hear your questions. We want to know what's going on. Okay. And we got to have fresh faces jumping on here. It's not the same people every week. I mean, we love everybody, but we want to hear from fresh faces. You guys, raise your hand and jump in here. And the other thing is, if we got 28 minutes, just keep in mind that, if we've got 250 people on here, which we do, we want to hear from maximum people. So we got to try to be quick, like do 2-minute segments and just get more in and get more people in and get more feedback and questions answered than someone taking 8 to 10 minutes, and doing an expose, or what, not an expose, but an 8-minute summary of what we've been talking about for 30 minutes. So that's where we want to go with this thing. Guys, love you guys. Y'all have a great week. Diane, I'm handing it back to you.
Yep.
And I'm going to miss you, champions. All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. All right, Barbara, we're going to take your question or comment.
Hey, Diane.
Pretty.
Thank y'all so much for this training. I love it. Perfectly timed. Okay, so the journey I've been through, the turtle. And one of the things that I have a question about is y'all are talking about the vision. Okay, so my vision is to have the Happy Town community, where I'm building a community of people to live in.
Mhm.
How does that apply to my vision for my business, where I'm, being influential and bringing people in for my business, for our business? How do those two combine together? Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, that's your reason. That's your why. The reason why you're doing what you're doing is because you want to accomplish what your heart has a desire to accomplish. So that's why, your business is so important to you, because you're doing it as a result to gain, the money, whether it's the network, whether it's whatever, because you got to figure out what that process is in order for you to accomplish your big vision. And that's how you combine it. So you're doing it because. Make sense? You're on mute.
Okay, so what is the vision then in leadership with our business?
Leadership, well, in business, that's what we do. We lead. We're leading a volunteer army. People only,
Right.
what you're doing is attracting people that want to follow your vision And vision, your vision, of course, is for your purpose and reason, but your vision is to gain the success that you desire so that you can do what you want to do. Now, everybody has their own vision. Their vision isn't your vision. So you help
Okay.
people discover their own vision, and then
Right.
you as a leader are leading them to success so that they can accomplish their own purpose and dreams
Okay.
also.
Okay, so we want to encourage them to be pursuing their vision
Yes.
as we're pursuing our own vision. Okay, I like that. Okay, thanks
And
so
we're
much.
doing that, and that all takes leadership, because that's, it's everything that we're talking about here under the umbrella of leadership, the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. These are all the things that we're becoming and we're getting better at so that we can lead people best well. Because it's not just about what I want to accomplish. It's what I want to help others accomplish, right? We're not chasing, we're chasing purpose. That's what we're chasing.
Okay.
And our purpose isn't just about, what we want. Our purpose is about helping everybody accomplish what they want. That's what real leaders do. It's helping people get to where they want to go in life. And in whatever way that we play a role in that, because it could be small or it could be big, just like for what Danny was referring to when it came to Wes. We could be a portion of it, or we could be a huge part of it. But whatever role that we play as a leader or a mentor in somebody's life, then, we want it to be, to the glory of their, greatest future.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for that.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely.
All right.
Rick and Gia?
Hey, Diane, thanks so much. Out of the two of us, it was me that raised my hand. First of all, Godspeed to Danny and his group there with their travels, and we'll hold them in prayer for
Thanks.
safety as they go, for hedge of protection around them. And thanks for continuing on with this today. In this, the law of process, I really read and reread and thought it through again, what TR's dad said to him. It really is not just what we can accomplish, what we can do. It's also physical. And, where he said, and I don't want to mess it up, so I'll try to read it, that he said that, you have the mind, but you have not the body. And without the help of the body, the mind cannot go as far as it should.
Mhm.
How key is that, especially in the business we're in? First of all, we've got the right tools to get the body up and going and reverse the age and restore health if you're out of health, or keep health if you're there. But it also lets you know that it is so important that you not just exercise the habits of doing, but also of becoming. And part of that is your own health, mentally and physically. So, I was raised in an era where, exercise wasn't considered work. If you weren't working, you weren't working. And, so it really took a mind shift change for me to realize that that's really part of longevity and health. And it's a necessary part of my day, not a luxury part of my day. And that really resonated with me when I read through this, that you do have to have the whole package.
Yeah.
The body to work, the mind has to be there. And for the mind to be there, the body has to work. And look at what he did. I mean, as struggling as it was, he took little steps every day and did something to strengthen his body.
So good. And I mean, it's such a testament to the focus of health, because there's so much more that we can accomplish when we're conquering something so big like the focus of our own health. When our own health becomes our focus of daily healthy habits, in the choices that we eat, in in our own exercise, in getting the proper hydration in us, and things like that, we will move so much further in the areas of success because we're starting with something so important. First and foremost, we all need health. I mean, what's wealth if we don't have our health? It isn't nearly as exciting to think that I'm going to chase money, but yet in the long haul, I'm going to lose, my abilities to, do all the things I would want to do. So therefore, I think that that's one of those things, especially what we represent health and wellness. So we want to represent it well when it comes to all of that. So that being something that we focus on as a healthy habit in our law of process, and that being something that we start to run in, is just gonna, it's gonna conquer a lot of things mentally for us to really, go the distance.
Yeah, agreed.
Hey, Diane, I don't see any other hands up, and I had a thought for the gal who just asked the previous question. Can I share it?
Yeah, go ahead.
And so she had this vision of a place that people can come live. I didn't really catch all the details, nor am I familiar with her vision there. But there's a distinct difference between a purpose and goal.
Mhm,
You can live without a goal.
mhm.
Many people get through life without a goal, but if you don't have a purpose, you're toast. You're not really going to go anywhere. You're going to just exist. And my thought is that it sounds to me like she has a purpose. The purpose is to build this community, this vision that she sees in her head.
Yeah.
And LifeWave is just a goal to reach that purpose.
Yeah.
And so the next brand partner that comes in to your business, you could look at it and say, well, that's I'm building my LifeWave business. Or you can say, I'm building this vision of a place for people to come and exist and live and thrive. And so now that has a much
Yeah.
higher value to it than just another brand partner in my business. Not to diminish that, because that's great. We want new brand partners, but really it's the purpose. You're doing it for the purpose, the bigger vision of your life and what you're put on this planet, what you're intended to be here for for humanity.
So good. Thank you for sharing that. It was great. Great takeaways. I saw another name. I know Catherine, you had your hand up. I don't know if you had to jump off. Anybody else have something else they want to comment? Oh yeah, Daryl, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a quick question. What would you recommend for someone who gets distracted by life in in their pursuit of their vision for their life in this respect? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it goes back to what I think I was starting to say when it comes to the challenge that Miles Monroe talked about, because we have to be aware of it. I mean, in fact, some of the notes that I took from him is that, let me grab it real quick because it was so good, is like, there's 4 phases of leadership development. That was actually Maxwell, and it says, you have to come to the place where you understand, I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. Like, that's an area of ignorance, right? So I know that there's an area of ignorance in me. I know what I need to know, which is awareness. I know what I need to know. So that's like, I'm aware of where I need to grow in. So these are some, some areas that we need to like kind of start to summarize in our life so that they come clear in where we do need to grow. I know that I need to know. So that's awareness. And the third one is I know what I don't need to, I know what I don't know. So that's intentional learning. So if I know there's something I need to know, then I need to be intentional about learning what I need to learn in order to accomplish, the vision, in order to continue to move the ball down the court, which is process. And then the fourth is I know and grow, and it shows. So that's the reputation of influence. So I know and I grow, so people will start to, understand that you're always willing to grow. You're always willing to become more. And so if we start to understand these concepts, then now we're going to start to highlight those things that are stealing our time so that we're not accomplishing what we really want to accomplish. Those life stealers, right? The things that are taking our time. So that's where I was starting, where Miles Monroe was talking about, like, take time to, notice what is it that's keeping you from moving forward. And so he said, have a pen and paper or take phone notes, but that you become aware of what is stopping you. Somebody put it like, the scrolling on Facebook is the thief of my time, which, that is one of those things that you have to, once you have gotten to the point where you're like, I admit it, I I can easily be addicted into Facebook, and I can sit there for minutes upon, if not hours, that I'm now wasted an hour and a half of time for no reason, for nothing.
Right.
And so, which will frustrate you, going, okay, I just wasted an hour and a half of time and I have nothing to show for it other than just watching everybody else in the world. I've just been entertained by everybody. And so once you start realizing how much you do that, you start realizing very quickly, because now you're aware that this is happening regularly. And when you're aware of something, then you can change it. Remember, it's the admit it, quit it, change it mentality. I'm gonna admit that I spend way too much time on Facebook, because I can try to say, no, I don't. I'm not really, I do a good job. I don't waste my time on Facebook. Yeah, I look at it every once in a while. But then when you start to really want to get the change that you desire, and so now you're creating this awareness of those things that are stealing your time, and it might be talking on the phone to somebody that's not, moving in your direction, encouraging forward. They might even be a dream stealer, like how often am I having these types of conversations? How often am I sitting around with other friends that is just gossip and tear down, or talking about politics or who's having an affair with who on Facebook, and what's happening to their life. I mean, like, none of those things matter, but at the same time we find ourselves drawn in, and all of a sudden we've lost more time. So when you start taking note of those things, Daryl, and being intentional about realizing that these are things that are in fact holding me right where I am, this is causing flatline in my life, versus me going up and moving in a direction that I want to go in this law of process, because the enemy loves to steal, kill, and destroy. And you want to know what the number one way he does that? It's called distraction. It's not that he's, your house is on fire. It's he has you distracted with the little foxes that steal our day. And we just have to discover where they're happening. And once we discover that, we start to own our day. Because if we don't take control of our day will control us. And before we know it, the day is gone again, and we didn't control it, and it controlled us by wasting time. So, that's what I would say, is just really to start taking mental notes and being in awareness of where your time is being stolen and keeping you from progressing forward.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for the question. Thanks for asking. Susan? Susan, are you there?
Yeah,
Yep.
I am. Can you hear me?
Great. Yep.
For me, the 4 phases of leadership and growth, I learned all this like 40 odd years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm adding a 5th step: remember, the devil is in the distractions. And I just have to be constantly reminded. I know all this stuff. I learned all this stuff, but it's buried somewhere.
Yep.
And I need it brought to the surface.
Yep.
And I need to remember. I need to keep reminding. I need to keep turning around and focusing away from the distractions.
Yep. It's so true. And reminders are so necessary. That's why so many of us have been in this book before, but it's coming around again. Those reminders bring new revelation, things that we weren't in a place before to understand or to make the adjustments in, to where now we're in a new season, we're in a new place, we've had our own progress, or we've had our own setbacks to create our comebacks, and so on and so forth. So it's the reminders are necessary. There's a reason why the scriptures have several things written over and over again, because we all need to be reminded. So don't feel alone there. And it is really, really exciting that we're getting this awareness all over again. Really
That's
good.
why the scripture tells us, remember.
Yep.
You can apply it to everything.
Exactly. Because
Thank you.
so many things want to come our way to get us focused on something else, and to eventually forget and start buying the lie instead of the truth. And then that's all that we see, that's all that we hear, that's all that we remember is the lie. So really, really good. Thanks, Susan. Sandy, hey, sweetie.
Hi, thank you so much. This is wonderful training. And I spent about 30 years in the corporate world in different leadership positions, I guess you would call them, but I have a complete new different set of friends that I've gotten to know while my kids grew up. And we recently moved away, and now I came back for a visit, and it's really, I've had a mind shift change, but their perception of me is how I was and what I was doing. And my only connection to them right now is an occasional phone call, but mostly through Facebook. So I'm working on trying to be very intentional with what I am posting and what I'm saying and what I'm showing, because it's really hard to change someone's perception and what their reality is of you, of me. And so this has been great, because I'm, thinking about, what quotes can I post and what can I put out there, so people do realize that I'm not that person who's going to volunteer all the time, say yes to everything, and, just be there in a different way. So I didn't ramble, but it's like, how do you really, how do you make that shift for people to see you different when they know you a certain way?
It's all about who you become, and them just seeing you as this new person. People will notice it. They can't help but notice changes in somebody. I mean, people will say, you're different. I think it was Terry Miller. You had the butterfly and I think it was Terry that had the butterfly and the caterpillar, and it said, and the butterfly said to the caterpillar, you look different. I mean, you seem different. And they said, and the butterfly said, yes, we're supposed to change, right? Like that's what we're called to do. So, but it will show. You don't have to say or do anything, specifically to them. It's going to show. And so people are going to notice automatically by, the things that you say, the things that you post, the way that you act, the way that you respond. It's an automatic. It comes naturally. And so you just step into it with confidence and excitement, and you walk in it boldly, and it's amazing how you will lead. I mean, it's so true that, I've even made that post once. I'm not who I was. Who I am is not who I was, and I'm not who I'm going to be, because, we're constantly changing. So that old me isn't who I am. I mean, we are always, moving forward. So really, really good. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Terry?
I think Jeff and Charity had raised their hand first.
Is there a hand up? Oh, yes, it is. I couldn't see it within all the horse stuff. I didn't see that your hand was up. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Terry.
It's hidden. There you go.
I just wanted to touch on that issue of changing who you are. We had life happen severely, and that'll be for another day. But it changed a lot of people's perspective on who we were, who I was. And I never changed who I was.
Yep.
I became a better me and worked on being a better me, continued to be who I always was, just a more outgoing, outspoken, confident person, which has changed those people's views back to better than what it used to be. And our family has benefited from it because of it. But we had to really find who we were and work on being a better us. We never changed who we were. We're always going to be the same people because we're confident in who we are. It was just a matter of swallowing our pride, being humble, and being okay with people's perceptions of us, and just not changing who we were. I mean, our faith was strong, and our family was strong, our marriage was strong, and we stayed true to who we were and just daily worked on becoming a better us. And it has switched people's minds back to the better side.
That's so good. Truth will always overcome. It always overcomes. Like if we continue to walk in truth, we've all been misrepresented, somebody out there has lied about who we are or what we said or what they think. And so we've all been misrepresented. We have to truly get to the point. It's not about what anybody else thinks. It's only about what he thinks. And so when I focus on what he thinks, then everything else falls into place and truth will arise. And everybody that thinks what they want to think will surely over time see the truth in who I am and not believe the lies of what they've been told. So, we just got to keep walking in our purpose, continuing to grow, just like Jeff, you're talking about. So good. And and all those things that happen to us, it goes back to the testings, just like Danny started with, the testings that will come and how we handle the storms that come our way, because we are, just like what's behind you, fearless and unshakable. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It doesn't matter what anybody else does. I know that I am fearless and unshakable, and I may not completely feel that way yet, but at the same time, I know that's the direction I'm going, because I'm getting stronger every day, because I'm on this pursuit of becoming who I'm called to be and my truest self of that. And so when we really buy into that, that's when it becomes, okay, I get it. This is all part of it, right? Oh, I understand why that's happening. It's all part of it, because again, it's all the sharpening. We're not called into comfort. We're called into transformation. So this is all part of it, so that we got to go through to get to. And what we got to go through is not always pretty. We got to get on the other side of some stuff. And so we got to go through to get to what we truly desire, what we're truly called to be. And so you got to give it the time it deserves. So really, really good. Thanks for sharing. That was good. Miss Terry.
Yes, just exclamation point on everything you just said in this last part. It's very fascinating is people will have their intentions of you, and it has really nothing to do with you. It has to do with their life, their trauma, their whatever. And one of the greatest gifts I think you can give people is when you become more, it raises for other people to become more. And also in the spirit of, as you're becoming, the attraction, the law of attraction of others. And but also if there are people within your circle who can still only see you as that 16-year-old girl in high school or whatever, that's probably not who you want in your circle. So try to just have, some awareness, of that. And Diana, we had a huge season. I'll just go with that. And gossip and rumors and things like that went around. But the same thing is we knew that God knew the truth, and the truth will prevail. And in reality, it did not stress us. I'll also add the Eon patch helped tremendously. But the truth is prevailing. But I had a weekend this weekend, a Cuz Fest weekend, and I hadn't seen many of my cousins in years. And we had all matured immensely. And thank God we did. But there was actually a couple cousins who would not come because they had not matured. And so it was, but the ones that were supposed to be here were here. And I just liken that to our life. Yep. And so, no, just few little thoughts on awarenesses.
So good. It's so good. And some people won't come along. It's so true. Some people, as you're going on this journey and you're deciding to change, some will say, I don't want to go that direction, because people don't want to go through the process and they don't want to go through the hard times, and they're comfortable right where they are. And so only, we can inspire them, we can encourage them. And of course, we can go get our success, because success will, obviously encourage others forward. But in the meantime, we can't let their decisions hold us back. And you got to know it. It's part of it. Hey, sweetie. Hey, Catherine.
Hey, can you hear me? I keep getting kicked off. I did have my hand raised earlier, but it's kicked me off so many times, and that's why I know like it's important for me to say what I have to say. So here I go. So this is my favorite subject out of all the 21 laws, because when we first started, our company was We Build Champions, and you guys are champion makers. And so I just ran with Become Champions. And, that was our website, that was our logo, that was everything. And so we've married Become Champions. We're always growing, we're always becoming. But what I want to say about that is, my mom was doing this. So I'm a teenager, and she took us to the leadership event. She took us to the success and personal and development growth, events. And as a kid, 18 years old, 19 years old, I'm in my 40s, y'all. I have grown up with personal growth and development. And I will say, out of, circles that we're in, people look to us as leaders because of that. And I'm going, sometimes I'm like, I'm not a leader. I'm just I'm just me. But it's a difference in how you're raised and what you're around. And I'm just saying, like, put your kids around this. Get your kids, around the Zoom if they can on Wednesday, or regurgitate what you've learned, or read the book with them, and do all of these things with your family. Because I promise you, as a person who's done it myself as a child growing up in it, it matters, and it changes things, and it helps your kids. They're not teaching this in school, you guys. They're not teaching this in elementary and high school, junior high. They're not helping our kids become leaders. They're not helping them with their mindset development and with this personal growth. So it's everything. And who actually teaches parents to teach their kids this? So what we have is so incredible. And I am grateful. My vitamin G tank is just overflowing, because I literally could cry that I got to be raised around people like Danny and Diane, and always, the 3 A's, not being a narcissist and saying like, oh, I can, I'm doing great. No, you could do better. And how can you do better? Okay, have someone in your life that will tell you how you could do better, and then have the 3 A's: awareness, and then acceptance, and then take action. And you can ask your mentor or your leader, how can I be better? How can I take action, on making changes to be that butterfly and not that caterpillar anymore? Where do you see, opportunity for growth in me? And then allow them to speak into you, because I tell you what, they're only doing that because they love you. It's hard for somebody to put themselves, second to your growth and say, this might hurt your feelings. You may not like me for a minute when I tell you this, but this is how I can see you could grow. And then take that and just work that out with them. And that's what I love about Danny and Diane. They're willing to say, this is where you could grow, or, be quiet on a 3-way and let your mentor talk, or whatever it is. This is such a beautiful community that wants you to grow and wants you to become more, become champions. Love y'all.
So good. You're awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Really, really good. Yep. You've been in it a long time. That's why you're super stud. Proud of you. Nancy, we'll take Nancy for our last question, and then I'll close it up.
Okay. I just
Okay.
wanted to add an experience of my own. Back in my 40s, I was still a nurse, or an active nurse. And anyway, I was working with a nurse, and I truly credit her for leading me to the Lord. But one day we were talking, and I guess I was upset about something that was said about me or whatever. And she said, when people tell lies about you, live your life to prove them wrong. And I carried that with me for the rest of my life. I realized that if you maintain that
Yep.
mindset,
Yep.
you can't help but just live your life as you want to be seen. So that's all I wanted to say.
I love it. It's perfect. It's exactly what we're talking about, and it was put beautifully. So thank you so much. I mean,
Okay.
Guys, it is all mindset. I mean, the process is mindset. It's committing to the process. It's trusting the process. But that's a mindset that you have to develop, that you do commit and trust the process, because we are going to come along, and we got to remember, God hides greatness in small beginnings. So you're not too late, you're not too far behind. It's not too small to become great. You're not too far behind that you don't become great. So you got to just trust the process, because if you're willing to say yes to the process, because that's a decision, process is a decision. If you're willing to say yes to the process, then, then you start to trust the process, then everything else starts to fall into place. But we want to remember that God does hide greatness in our small beginnings, and the process is God's way of protecting your gift until your character is ready. So there's things that are to come in the process of what you're pursuing, but we're not ready for it yet. And that's just the reality of that. That should excite you. I'm just not ready for all God has for me. And again, when you can start to see how this works, that the more we become, the more, the more we can handle, there's a scripture right on the edge of my tongue and it's not coming to me. Anyways, so just keeping that in mind, like, it's so important that you understand that, if we skip the process, your gift will take you where your character cannot keep you. And we don't want to get someplace too early. And, that was something we learned very, very fast. The founder of our first company, he would always talk about, your check can outgrow you, but if you don't grow to match your check will quickly go back to the level you're at, whether it's that, the law of the lid, so to speak, that level. So, keeping in mind, as we grow, and everything else grows around us, because we're in this mindset of process, then, we're rising up to the occasion to handle what God's bringing to the table, the favor that's on us, because we're honoring this process that he's got us on. So it's very, very exciting. I hope that you guys all do take time to much is given, much is expected. That's what I was just thinking about. So thank you. I knew it had to come. So, that's something that we got to remember. So much is expected of us. So if we want much to be given, then much is expected of us. So that's all about who we become in the process, because that's what's expected, right? Becoming the best version of ourselves, our truest, being in our truest identity of who he's called us to be. And that's what we all want to get excited about, because that's when we're living for everybody around us, because we're living true in him. So this is super exciting. You guys have been amazing. I pray that this has been very, very special. And as we're on this journey to, really grow in this area of leadership, so that y'all can lead the army that you desire, whatever area, whatever amount that looks like, because, your goals are your goals. Your calling is your calling. Your conversations with God are your conversations with God. So we're not trying to mold you into something that you're not willing to be. This is your personal goal. But all of these things that we're building on are just going to make everything come along much easier, through the experiences that several of us have had, and the wisdom and the knowledge that several of us have already been through. So we're excited to be on this journey with you. So you guys are amazing, and y'all have a great, great rest of the week. And we'll see y'all on Sunday night Zoom. And don't forget tonight with Carrie, it's going to be amazing. Bye.